I've been researching this part for 3,000 years. Well, not really me. Really, some of this aspect comes down to two people called Plato and Aristotle. They really did a lot of research about personalities. Anytime you see any type of motivational theory, and the majority of them have this, but anytime you see four specific quadrants out there where they divide things into four different categories, you'll see it in Myers-Briggs. Myers-Briggs has four categories, and each category has four more traits. So Myers-Briggs has 16 personality categories. On Strength Quest, they always talk about the aspect of, in Strength Quest, there's 34 different personality types you'll have in here. Well, actually, at the advanced level, if you're a trainer for Strength Quest, they show you there's four different quadrants out there. Anytime you see four, okay, it really has its roots going back 3,000 years between Aristotle and Socrates. They came up with the aspect of four different aspects of it, and it's based upon an axis. And the axis really is an up and down thing of one of them here with the level of neuroticism you have, the high and low. Now, neuroticism, we always tend to think that I'm a neurotic, that's bad. Well, no, it really is just about the level of emotional reaction you have to what's around you. So either you're flat, dead calm, or you react to almost everything. And also the amount of introversion. So we have this axis of four different quadrants. It's all based in it. Oh, but wait a minute. Look at this. This is called the four temperaments. You have the melancholic. They're moody. They're anxious. They're rigid. They're sober. They're pessimistic, reserved, unsociable, and quiet. Some of those sound a little negative, don't they? But they're not negative. They're describing behaviors and traits. If you want to have things done extremely well, one of the best people you want to have is somebody that's a melancholic. They watch the micro details and they get it right. If you want to get something done, you bring in the choleric. They're touchy, restless, aggressive, excitable, changeable. They're the ones that you want to have be in charge of a project because they ignore other people's emotions. They just want to get the project done. Or the sanguine. These people, they're so wonderful. They don't have a big focus on tomorrow or yesterday. They focus in on this moment, and they're sociable, outgoing, talkative. A lot of Hollywood is filled with sanguines. A lot of people that are great salespeople are natural-born sanguines. And then the phlegmatic, they always kind of lean back and they move slow, and they have different aspects that they do and everything. But on the inside, they churn. But on the outside, they look like they're super calm. Anytime you see these four personality types, they really do focus in as to what is Myers-Briggs about and everything. So you'll see it also in almost every personality type. Now, the Myers-Briggs is the most widely used personality test. It studies the cognitive style, how you think, has a neutral view of the score results, but it really isn't a good predictor of job performance. It's a predictor as to how the brain structure, how it functions. Really, these personality tests that claim job performance, I question the validity of them from beginning to end because of the fact that anybody, if you use a personality test for job performance, you are categorizing people and saying, only this personality can do this job. And by the way, that is against the law. In Duke versus Greg Power, go look up the Supreme Court case. Frankly, it is a poor a tool to use for hiring and for sometimes development. If you start categorizing and pigeonholing, only this kind of person can do this job, because that simply isn't true. Most people can do almost any job. The circumstances are right, and they have a motivation to do that. So be careful about all these tests saying only this person can do that. Oh, you're not suited for this job. Don't go there, because all of a sudden you're limiting people by a test that in your opinion on it and not listening out there. That's not good leadership. That is somebody shooting from the hip, listening to a consultant who usually doesn't know what they're doing and will get sued eventually. So be careful as to what you're doing there. Stable, evaluative beliefs, they got our performance, define right or wrong, good or bad, what we ought to do. That really is a value system unless it really is part of the structure of the organization. A lot of your values, they are a hierarchy, and they really are those that come down from the top, really govern the organization. With personality, values are evaluative, okay? They're not descriptive, okay? They can conflict with each other. You may have a value over here as to how things should be done, and somebody else has one over here. And of course, you're right, because you're talking to me and you're in this class, and they're wrong because they're not. But wait a minute, you got to listen to that person and back up and maybe take your prejudicial eyes. And by the way, that's not necessarily a bad word. I'm prejudiced. I don't like romaine lettuce. I prefer a green leaf lettuce over romaine. I'm prejudiced against those romaine lettuce people. Well, that's not a prejudice. It's a preference over something. Well, it's the same thing. Be careful of the conflict that you have. Stop judging people by the first response. You need to back up sometimes and listen to where you're going over there and take all the different animosity out over your first impression. And it's not necessarily about anything racial, it's about personality. So be careful about conflicting over the initial values. More affected by nurture than nature. Schwartz's values model is pretty good. It's got 57 values in 10 categories. Here is a graphic of that. It's critical to go through and look on this and see where you fit, because it's going to help you in working with other people. Are you open to change? Do you like to preserve the status quo? And there's all kinds of rules. We'll talk about this later on when we talk about the three main fears of change: self-enhancement, and then there's self-transcendence to promote the welfare of others and nature around you. Those are the four main categories. See that number 4? Okay, you'll see that reflected in the 3,000 years of research. Values affect your decisions and behavior. They relate to the attractiveness of your choices, values your perceptions, and motivates us to act consistently with our own self-image and the public image. And by the way, sometimes they're very different. Situations, sometimes there's barriers, sometimes there's a lack of opportunity. It just depends where you're at. Pay attention to your values. Values are an abstract thing. Sometimes people, they hold the value and it doesn't make any sense to you, thinking, why is that important? It's important to preserve the status quo because the history of our organization, the culture that we have. Well, you may not think the culture is very good. I think the culture really is bad over here. I don't like working with this culture. Well, instead of attacking the culture, maybe you ought to express what your concerns are and use more words. Pay attention to values, because somebody else may react against what you're saying and therefore react against you and close off your mind because you're so hostile and you're so negative. Watch the values. A lot of times you're drawn to people that have same values. And it may be just a matter of you like how they operate, you have like this, you like that. It could be a totally different person. You just like who they are and their different aspects. You need to find ways to have team cohesion, especially if you're in leadership. This also, the values tie into job satisfaction, loyalty, a citizen of the organization, and it lowers your stress. People like to believe in the goals of the organization. Sometimes they don't know what the goals are because nobody tells them. That's all about communicating out as to what should be said out there. That's part of the role of every leader, whether you're at the highest echelons or you're a first-line supervisor. Talk, spread that, and then listen back, because that feedback will help you align even better your values with theirs. Ethics, it's a study of moral principles and values, whether actions are right or wrong, or outcomes are good or bad. Utilitarian is probably the first one here we want to look at. Is the greatest good for the greatest number. You should sacrifice your own values for the greatest number. Well, that's what utilitarian is about. Individual rights, everybody has the same natural rights. Kind of sounds like our Constitution in the United States, doesn't it? And then 3, distributive justice. Everybody should carry the same weight and burden, and the ethic of care, a moral obligation to help others. Frankly, all 4 of those value systems, they resonate with me, and I'm certain we can have more than one. If they resonate with you, I would study these in the aspect of, yeah, it could be on a test, but the reality is people will sometimes, they will choose one type of justice over others. And that's a big thing, one type of ethical value school and the moral principles and values, and that rides over everything. And yours may be very different, and you may conflict over something like that. 3,000 years of research, the 4 quadrants, you don't have to know this exactly, but really have the idea of the melancholic, the sanguine, the choleric, and the phlegmatic. Know this, that people have a genetic predisposition for certain types of personality, as well as their own values they've been raised with. And people have different perceptions, and they wear glasses that they see the world through. And the glasses are nothing more than the values that are part of their genetic makeup and their things that they've been raised in. similar values that really helps affect the team cohesion, and people will stick around longer, job satisfaction, turnover. The more you have in communication in an organization, usually the better off you are. The four general schools of thought: utilitarian, individual rights, distributive justice, and the ethic of care. All these are based on massive years of research, 3,000 or even more. Take care.